So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I was listening to Joe Rogan talking to Jocko something. It's a Navy SEAL guy that Joe Rogan talks to from time to time, one of his friends. And while listening to it, I think that I really couldn't come up with a better example of one or two people who are completely disconnected, maybe oblivious to the other side of somebody else's perspective. So, for example, Joe Rogan starts off talking to Jocko and he's like, "Did you know that Magic the Gathering is racist now?" And I thought, okay. So he hadn't actually read the article, but then Jamie brought it up a little while after, and it amounted to a particular card that would force your opponent to only use creatures that are the same color as the creatures that they're facing. And it seems like an interesting card if you were playing, because it means that, let's say for example, and I have never played Magic the Gathering, but I'm guessing that, let's say if you have a bunch of creatures that are white, right, and your opponent has a bunch of creatures that are black, and somebody uses that card, it means that you might not be able to use any of your creatures if all of your creatures are white. So you know that's a real disadvantage. But for somebody who is, and this is the thing about it is though, that I think it's really interesting, and I guess it's always from the point of the more powerful person who, in a relationship or in a society, who might say, "Oh my God, what is this now? Why?" Like a man in a relationship with a woman, and to him, everything that his woman tells him is a whine. It's a complaint. It's a whatever. And I get it. I get how men or someone in a position of power, let's say a leader, a CEO, or somebody, a business person, they would see their employees' complaints as whining and complaints, and oh my God, what is it again? Of course, they're more wealthy, they're more powerful, so to them, oftentimes things that might be justifiable would just be annoyances. A woman in many instances would not have the same employment opportunities as a man, even if she's just as qualified. So a woman can't say, I'm going to go out and work most of the time. There are many men who work at home and take care of the kids now, but they're the exception. They're certainly not the rule. Where, the woman can go out and make the money, and the guy can be left home with the kids and see if he can do that. Or an employer can do the job that he puts his employees to do, and he thinks it's so easy. It's not often that people get to change trade places and see the other side. And I think in this particular instance, that's exactly what Joe Rogan he's talking from. He's had guests on who have been able to explain. I think he had a guy on, there was a black guy from the NRA, who he was talking about, this was the conversation they were talking about. Basically, if gangbangers get shot, that's not as much a concern as if an innocent person gets shot. And the guy said, well, hey, it's not like people choose to go into gangbanging. If you are living in a particular area surrounded by that, for one thing, you might be forced into the gang. For another thing, if you can't get ordinary work because people don't want to hire people from your area, people are prejudiced and they don't want to give you an opportunity. You don't have a good school system because schools are funded by taxes and everybody in your area is poor. Then you can't get a good education. So what actually are you qualified to do? So you're in the gang and then you get shot and nobody cares. So this other person who's innocent who got shot, they might be somebody in a better area. And it's no fault of the person, gangbanger, or the person who died for the situations that they end up in. But it's okay, apparently, for us to hate the gangbanger and mourn the innocent. Anyway, I think after explaining about Magic the Gathering, I don't even think they went into it to talk about it. Jocko was saying, well, hey, we're living in a day and age where people just try to put the most inflammatory thing on social media, and they started talking about clickbait. And I was thinking, I don't think that it's that people always try to put the most inflammatory thing on social media. For one thing, that's what the news is. The news looks for the most it's always done that. The news does not want to talk about how they opened a park, next to your house, or there was a country fair. Yeah, they do have that. That's on the latter end. That's not what they lead with. If it bleeds, it leads. And for people to be having a special idea that, oh, this is social media is causing it, that is really not very aware of how life has been progressing. It harkens to people talking about, well, in my day, things were great. And there was even a part where Joe Rogan was talking about the idea that just a la Megyn Kelly, oh my God, Joe Rogan. He was talking about, well, in my day, people used to dress like Mr. T, and people used to dress like whoever else, black celebrity, and it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, it was never a big deal to the people for whom it didn't matter. The people for whom it mattered, or maybe might have found it problematic, nobody really, or the majority, or the people who are strong, they don't ever see these things to be a problem. It's like if you go to a particular event and there are Confederate flags all over the place. For the person who is unbothered by it, for whom it is not a threat, it would never have been a problem. And when somebody says, hey, could you take down that Confederate flag? They would be like, oh my God, something, it's always something. Yeah, because you have so much influence over the world. You made the world according to what suited you, how you were comfortable. And then other people never really had a say as to how the world should be set up. They finally start talking, and to you, everything that they say is an annoyance. Why do you want to change so many things? Because you made the world in a way where you alone were comfortable. So yeah, many, many, many things probably need to be changed. Just in the same way as if a man and a woman get married and the man has his house, or he's accustomed to doing things in a particular way that suit him, and being the more powerful person, as in I've never seen it written that a husband should obey his wife. That is not written in any book. Historically, we know that women have not gotten the input. They have not gotten to input things in society the way that they should. So there's that. And then of course Jocko went, he was talking for a while on his own, and part of his idea was, being a cop is so tough, and they're talking about defunding the police, and he and Joe are saying, this is going to end so horribly. And I'm wondering, is it really going to end so horribly? Let's say that you really scale back on the use of the cops. I've found personally that, and for a lot of other people that I know, a lot of times the police are useless. You think that you're calling the police to help you, to fix the situation. And a lot of times, when they arrive, if they arrive, they are doing things that you would not have thought make any sense. For example, I had the opportunity to call the police, or tell my friend to call the police, because he and his friend had a dispute over some property and his friend was basically destroying this stuff. So I thought, hey, maybe the cops can help. The cops came, and they didn't get out of the car, and their position was, no, we don't get involved in civil disputes. And I understand that, but at the same time, this is something that could potentially escalate. So wouldn't this be a good opportunity to try to de-escalate the situation before you get called back for something more serious? But they didn't really see it like that. So I thought, what's the point of you existing? So I think that certain people tend to often think that the police are protecting me when they might not be. And we need the police, otherwise chaos would break out. And that might not be the case. I think that these scenarios, and even Jocko was talking about the fact that, this job is so dangerous. Garbage collectors get killed on duty, as far as I know, more often than the police. And they're not allowed to walk with weapons. I have to go look that up again myself, but I was surprised to find that there are a number of jobs that are more mortally dangerous than being a policeman. It's just, I was even listening to this girl on Amber, this woman named Amber. She's a writer on Seth Meyers' talk show. Is it? I can't remember the name of it. But she was talking about instances where she'd been pulled over by the cops. And in one instance that, I marked in my head, she was walking or skipping along an alleyway. It was behind a police station. And as she was skipping, the police came, they brandished a weapon at her, and, they pointed a weapon at her and basically terrified her. And they did all this without realizing that her friend, her white friend, was watching. When she pointed to her white friend, the guy who was waiting for her at the car, their whole demeanor changed. And I think that's what's hard for Joe Rogan and Jocko to appreciate. That there's this other world that has nothing to do with how much you train a cop or cops about how they're going to treat certain people. And that is not something that you can train away, where you always think, this guy is going to kill me. This guy doesn't deserve me to be more careful. This guy we need to get him down. Or this person. And that has nothing to do with how much you train people. It has nothing to do with the reality of how threatening a particular person might be. Police kill 10 times as many people as kill them. So I don't know that policeman really needs to be too concerned about how many police officers are being shot, because they're getting them back. But I think in a world where people can't put themselves in the situation of the other person who's at the bottom, and in a world where in fact that's actually hidden from them, I don't know how things can really get better, because they're going to oppose things that make sense, because they don't believe that it's real. Anyway, guys, you can wish me lucks, you can like or unlike, you can comment, subscribe, and or share. Peace. Hope the rain in the background is not too awful.